So, oh, yeah, that's fine. Adaptation. His urine smells superb. Oh, hello there. This is the Halloween special again. I'm still aware, Pug. My nose is still tiny. I still can't breathe, but I can still get that juicy sweat from the urine of various dogs and were-dogs from around the area. Yes, so I guess I better talk about the new video, because if you're a fan, of course, of small YouTube channels and their Halloween specials, you'll remember that we did the Munsters last year. Well, this year we're going to another spooky family, which is the Addams Family. So why don't you watch that video while I carry on huffing Dalmatian piss? Oh, that's delicious! They're creepy and they're kooky, and this is potentially Ocean's last game on the Spectrum, the kings of the licensed game. So before we get into the gameplay itself, shall we hear a little bit about how the Addams Family came to be? I think that would be most informative. Yes, it will. The Addams Family originally emerged from their tomb as far back as 1938 in cartoons penned by their namesake Charles Addams, which were sporadically featured in a weekly periodical called The New Yorker. The Addams were depicted as a twisted version of the American dream, a wealthy family who take great joy in the spooky, with no idea that normal people find them horrendously scary. The original family from 1938 featured Father Gomez, Mother Morticia, children Wednesday and Pugsley, Uncle Fester, Butler Lurch and Grandmama, along with a character we haven't really seen since, Wednesday's pet octopus Aristotle, presumably because it was hard and expensive to feature an octopus in a 1960s television show. The living hand thing came along in the 1950s, with the hairy cousin It following in the 1960s. The first TV show featuring this gothic crew debuted in 1964, a half-hour sitcom that ran for 64 episodes and introduced the famous theme tune. Bum. It was shown in the UK by numerous channels over the decades, originally ITV in the 60s, Channel 4 in the 80s, Sky 1 in the early 90s and BBC 2 in the mid-90s. You can still find it on some of the more obscure digital channels if you look hard enough. Go on, Nick, go on. There was a, I suppose, apropos 1972 Scooby-Doo crossover, which featured a lot of the original cast reprising their roles, but using their mouths and not their bodies. A cartoon series followed that was produced by Hanna-Barbera, and that followed in 1973 and featured none other than an 11-year-old Jodie Foster as the voice of Pugsley. Yes, Pugsley, not Wednesday. Hello there, Jodie. The 1992 movie on which our game here is based was a commercial hit. It starred Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, Christina Ricci and Christopher Lloyd, but it wasn't particularly loved by the critics. And well, screw them, it's a fun enough film that I thought it was pretty good, and without it we wouldn't have had a CG decapitated MC Hammerhead. And you know what? Society and life would be very different if we didn't see one-hit wonders' heads bouncing around bloodlessly, don't you think? A sequel, known as Addams Family Values, which featured a baby with a moustache called Pubert, got more love off of critics, but not off of cinema goers. Aren't we a fussy bunch? There's a pair of CG movies that have come out recently, but they're complete pants, and we don't need to talk about them. Let's just talk about the game instead, because I'm getting sad. The Addams Family was potentially the last game released by Ocean for the ZX Spectrum, as they kept casting an eye at those slutty-looking strumpets Nintendo and Sega and all the riches they've got in their pockets. Addams Family was a sort of a bridge title, really, as it was not only released on the usual 16-bit and 8-bit computers of the time, but also on the Game Gear, the Mega Drive, the Master System, the Game Boy, the NES, and the Super Nintendo. Now, there can't be too many games that came out on both the Super Nintendo and the Spectrum from the same company at the same time, but this is definitely one of them. Coding duties were given to Andrew Deakin and, get this name, Ivan Horn for the Specky version, and it's quite the game. Taking the role of the smooth charmer, family man and chief torturer Gomez, you're tasked with exploring the vast Addams estate in a bid to rescue Lurch, Thing, Pugsley, Grandmama, Wednesday and of course your darling Morticia. The house has been overrun by ghouls and beasties at the behest of Uncle Fester, who at this stage of the story is a right git. Normally, Gomez would have been chuffed to have a visit from such ghouly guests, but if there's one thing that G-Dog loves more than physical pain and the macabre, it's his famalam. It's a good thing Gomez loves pain, because Addams Family on the Spectrum is harder than Demon's Shafts. The difficulty settings here are here to mock you. That's all they're there for, because easy mode is, well, not that. It's not that at all. The flip screen platforming is well put together, but it is also excruciatingly tricky. In this console-era world of the early 90s, Ocean have gone with the tried and tested Mario way of dispatching goons by jumping on their heads, and it works well for the most part, though Gomez's weird inertia and off-feeling jump does initially take some getting used to. A lot of the initial difficulty is getting used to how Gomez moves, but once you've got your head round it, you do get a very solid platform adventure. A very neat thing that I like is that the family members are rescued by finding 6 keys to their rooms, then entering that room they're in for a rather interesting single-screen survival test. This to me is a really clever way of creating an objective-based task challenge that isn't an actual physical boss battle, and I'm all for it, frankly. Just avoid all the horrors for 60 seconds and you'll rescue your relative. Power-ups are scattered hither and dither, and there's some real variety to the different locales around the Spooksome estate. This is a well put together game, make no mistake. Animation, graphics, music, and really the entire presentation are fantastic, showing just how competent Ocean can be on their day, and it's a really good way to bow out at doing just what they did best. A very playable, technically impressive, licensed movie platformer. It's a bit too hard though, so people, if you're going to play it, prepare yourself for some Halloween howling. Oh, woo! Crash gave it a smash in their April 1992 issue, summarising that it's a smash hit conversion with all the fun of the film, and more besides. Your Sinclair covered the game in their June 92 issue, awarding it an 85% and stating it's a juicy, addictive platformer marred by incredibly, amazingly, unbelievably annoying controls. They're kinda right. Sinclair user said the following of Addams Family in their May 1992 issue. Addams Family is one of the most spectacularly colourful and playable games they'd seen on the Spectrum for a while. They awarded the game their Gold Award along with a score of 92%. So pretty well received all round, and you know what? It probably deserves it. It is a really good game. Oh, that one was a bad one. It must have been Barry the Doberman werewolf. He's addicted to drugs. I'm super high right now. Can someone go and get me some bonio from Tesco? I've got the munchies really bad. Oh, crikey, that's strong stuff, I tell you. Anyway, next episode is going to be about Andy Capp, which, believe it or not, had a TV show. But for now, I'm going to go for a sleep under the tree and dream about that really erotic poodle I saw the other week. Whoa, she had all 6 nipples erect. Okay, thanks, bye.